Today's reading is from St. John chapter 14, verses 27 to the end. Peace is what I leave with you. It is my own peace that I give you. I do not give it as the world does. Do not be worried and upset. Do not be afraid. You heard me say to you, I am leaving, but I will come back to you. If you loved me, you would be glad that I am going to the Father, for he is greater than I. I have told you this now before it all happens, so that when it does happen, you will believe. I cannot talk with you much longer because the ruler of this world is coming. He has no power over me, but the world must know that I love the Father. That is why I do everything as he commands me. Come, let us go from this place. There are several chapters in John's Gospel which come between the Last Supper and the betrayal of Jesus. These are full of predictions of Jesus telling the 12 that he will be leaving them, and reassurance that the Holy Spirit will be there to comfort them. It's interesting to put this particular passage into context. It's part of a planned journey towards death, which Jesus knows he has to make. On the way through Bethany, Jesus had called in on his friends Martha, Mary, and Lazarus, and Mary had poured perfume on Jesus' feet, prompting Judas to complain about the extravagance, and Jesus to say that his body has been anointed ready for burial. The crowds were already there in Bethany because they knew the story about Lazarus being restored to life by Jesus. On Palm Sunday, Jesus comes into Jerusalem as a hero to many, with crowds shouting and singing and throwing greenery and cloaks on the ground for his triumphal entry. Some saw him as the focus of political activity against the Romans. Some saw him as the Jewish Messiah. I'm sure there were others who were just joining in a jolly street party. After all, it was the season of Passover, which was a time of rejoicing. All this fuss was beginning to worry the Pharisees. Jesus was still speaking to the crowds and being questioned by them. Then he went and had some quiet time and began to gather his inner circle together to celebrate Passover. After all the noise and tumult of the previous days, Jesus now takes time to prepare his disciples for what is to come. I think the most difficult thing for the disciples are to understand, I am leaving you, and but I will come back to you. They must have thought that the cheering crowds were a sign that Jesus' ministry had borne fruit already. So why did he have to go away? At this point, the disciples must have been confused. They were part of a great celebration, following a good friend who was very special and charismatic, and who had taught them and shown them that he was the Messiah for whom the Jewish people had waited. However, they were not quite sure about exactly what that meant. But all the time, Jesus is warning them that he's going to leave them. In other words, their world will be turned upside down, and Jesus, their friend, leader, and teacher, will not be there anymore. What on earth must they have thought? After all, they had left jobs, friends, and family to follow Jesus. I'm sure there must have been much resentment in Galilee that the local fishermen had stopped supplying the usual catch to go after this strange man. Not a very sensible thing to do. So the fact that Jesus now tells the disciples that he's leaving them, what a bombshell. It's all very well to follow someone who heals the sick, feeds the multitudes, raises the dead, and gathers to himself many followers who believe his teachings. But what about afterwards, if he isn't there? But Jesus knows that they must be worried. He reassures them over and over again that they will not be alone. He even tells them that they will be able to perform miracles just as he did. He also repeats that he will return and that they should be happy for him to go away. It's a seismic shift, much like the one which we're enduring at the moment. Normal life, as we know it, has been put on hold. In these troubled times, what a reassuring message Jesus gives us. Peace is what I leave with you. Do not be worried and upset. Do not be afraid. This lockdown time has been an opportunity to question what is really important. For some, it has even been a time of reassessment, a refocusing on our discipleship, and trying to be part of the wider family of the church, appreciating the different journeys which we're all taking. The message is that Jesus is going to his Father and that the Holy Spirit will be here for us. One of the most difficult concepts for us to understand is that of the Holy Trinity. And here it is in one short passage. God the Father created the world, sent Jesus, his Son, to earth to share our humanity, and then after his sacrifice and death, left us with the support and love of the Holy Spirit. But these three are aspects of the same God. Verse 30 is a strange one. I cannot talk to you much longer because the ruler of this world is coming. He has no power over me. I imagine this refers to the capture, trial, and execution which will happen, but which will not be the end. The resurrection is still to come. The final verse is short but holds great meaning. Come, let us go from this place. Not I, Jesus, I'm going to do what I have to do, but let us go together. So let us be reassured. Let us be at peace. And when we can finally meet up again, may we rejoice in God's love.